Welcome to Season 3, Episode 12 of the Subway Conversation Chat. I'm your host, Jamie Malloy, and I'm here to talk some New York Yankees and New York Mets baseball with you all, and my co-host, Joe Dallio. So without any further delay, here's Joe. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Jamie, it is going great. We got outside podcast again because we were saying backstage, it is way too nice to not be outside. I mean, the temperature could not be more perfect. It's probably either side of 70 right now. A nice breeze here in the suburbs of Buffalo, New York. So I felt compelled. I got to be anyway, outside. Definitely.
I'm still in my kitchen my kitchen table where I'm at, but
Yeah, I just transferred my studio outside. You know how fancy my studio is, right?
Yeah.
So, transferred it out here. But it, like I said, a little breezy. We might get the occasional train going by. I just looked at 69 degrees right now and absolutely perfect. So, as often as I can, we don't get those opportunities. So, look forward to talking some baseball from the outdoors today.
Hopefully the train going by, it's the party train. We don't want to miss that. Gap Band, the party train.
No, the party train. We're not going to miss that. I think the Mets are missing the party train these days, but we'll talk about that as we go forward in this podcast.
Okay. Yep. So I'm starting off this week with Yankees injury reports.
Excellent.
So we're going to start out with outfielder Trent Grisham, Reggie Jackson look-alike with the mustache.
I totally agree.
With the right hamstring strain. Sorry. He is working on light on-field exercises, and we have a quote. We're really encouraged by how well he's doing, manager Aaron Boone said. Expected return July. Next, we have right-handed pitcher Luis Hill. I didn't know he was still on the team. We forgot. Yankee fans kind of forgot about him, but because he was not pitching as well because his velocity was going down, and then they send him to the AL and he gets hurt in the AL, or they send him back to the minors and he gets hurt in AAA.
As I was going to say, Luis who?
Yeah. Anyway, he's dealing with right shoulder inflammation, but guess what? Good news is he began pitching the weekend of June 13th and the 14th, so that's a good thing.
Mm-hmm.
While pitching with AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre, Hill was placed on the IL. His expected return possibly August. Next, Joe, guess what? This guy's back. We have right-handed pitcher Clark John Jacob Jingleheimer Smith, who's recovering from Tommy John surgery. He threw a side session on June 17th is a couple of weeks out from facing hitters, manager Aaron Boone said. Expect return possibly August. But Joe, they're going to have so many pitchers coming back. I mean, Fried is already Fried's going to be facing live hitters pretty soon. Luis Hill and Clark Schmidt are going to be coming back. I wonder if they may have to move Hill and Schmidt to the bullpen if they can't fit the starting rotation.
Yeah, it's not a bad problem to have, that's for sure. With who they got, Cole coming back recently, Rodon coming back recently. So, yeah, it's certainly not a bad problem to have. I'd rather have it to make a decision like that than, oh my goodness, who's going to pitch for us?
Mm-hmm. So let's turn it back over to you, Joe, for some Mets news. And you mentioned that they've been missing the party train. Please explain.
Oh, well, there's no party. There's no reason to party in Mets land. I mean, with how bad this team continues to be. And it's sad because the players are starting to, quit and starting to show and make it pretty obvious that they don't want to be here. Let's take some guy named Freddie Peralta, who has already waved the white flag. And that white flag has writing on both sides. One side says, I quit. The other side says, get me out of here. He's already given up, and I'll explain some details about that when I talk later. Even some players like Bo Bichette, I've said this a couple of times. I hear more and more how he wants to opt out of his contract and not come back to the Mets next year. Now, the difference is one guy has quit, as in Peralta. One guy, as in Bichette, is at least still trying and is doing pretty well at his job and is going to have to make a little bit of a change out of a comfort zone, which I'll explain in about 1 minute. But no complaints from Bichette about that. He's a team player, again, hitting well, doing his best at least, even though, there's inklings that he doesn't want to come back after this. And, I've questioned some of the other guys. I can't read minds. I'm wondering how much, even guys like Lindor want to be here. Now, part of it is, can you blame them? No, but part of it is their own doing. And again, there's a two-way street, and you're professionals and you're getting paid zillions of dollars to play a game here. So, I blame the players more than I do management, although, again, there's a lot of reasons to blame management too. Now, speaking of guys like Lindor, the Mets are going to be getting some players back pretty soon, and not so much pitchers. They're doing okay as far as the depth in the starting rotation. But Francisco Lindor is just about ready to come back. I didn't even check to see if he's in the lineup tonight. I don't think so. I think he played some AA games, played some AAA games, and he's being brought back today. And then they're going to decide, I guess, exactly when he's going to start. So it's imminent. Okay. So good for him. Good for the Mets, because they could certainly use his bat in the lineup. Hopefully the real Francisco Lindor shows up and has a good second half here. Now, other guys like Tyrone Taylor, Ronnie Mauricio, not as major players as Lindor, but still depth, guys that can contribute. Of course, Taylor is valuable in the field. Ronnie Mauricio, again, he's been growing and getting better here too. So hopefully, those guys can get back soon. But otherwise, there's just, a lot to consider and a lot to see what's going on. Now, we were talking about, or I was reading about, I don't think we've talked about it much on this show, but we're pretty much at the halfway point of the season. We will be at the end of this week. And the trade deadline's not coming up for another month or so, but some decisions are going to have to be made by the Mets. And we've talked about, I know, some decisions they should make and strategies that they should do, i.e. dumping this big payroll and starting from scratch and developing players in the minors. We've talked about that, but those decisions are going to have to be made in the near future. Now, do I trust Mets management to make the right decisions? I'd love to say yes, but no, I don't. So hopefully something's got to give here, and they do make the correct decisions, and they do. Even if they, let's say, go on a hot streak and they're only 3 games out of a wild card or something like that, I'm still not sure this team is capable of going far. So it's going to be interesting to see. Again, we're at the halfway mark of the season now, and they're going to wait and see. This is what management has said. They're giving it the next month, and then they're going to make decisions as far as what strategies to take and who stays and who goes. So be interesting to see how that goes as time goes on. So that's it as far as the initial Mets news here. I'll send it right back to you, Jamie.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, this is a really big thing the Yankees have been talking about. Could the Yankees actually trade for one of the AL's best southpaw pitchers in Detroit Tigers, Tarek Skubal?
Mm-hmm.
They've been talking about that. The Yankees being linked to him. So anyway, the buzz in the MLB trade rumor portal is crescendoing again about the New York Yankees' chances of actually acquiring star southpaw Tarek Skubal from the Detroit Tigers. The 29-year-old has won the AL Cy Young Award twice, and he just returned from elbow surgery on Saturday, giving the Tigers a small yet hopeful reason to believe the Tigers can still make a run towards the AL wild card. We have a quote here. This is right up my alley, Joe. Skubal hit 100 miles an hour in the fourth inning in Cleveland. You know, I love the sound of 100-mile-an-hour velocity, right?
Yes.
ESPN's Buster Olney noted Saturday, his day is over after 4 in 2/3 innings, 80 pitches, 5 hits, 3 runs, 1 rock, 4 Ks. His stuff is there, which bodes well for the lefty and the Tigers. If I'm every other team in baseball, I'd be going, because even though he only went 4 and 2/3 innings, he's still hitting 100 in his first start back. So
I was just going to ask, was that his first start back off the injured list?
yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And he still went almost 5, so doing that. After bouncing back in a small sample size, that performance was worth having patience with the native Howard Californian before deciding his future later. And we have another quote. The Tigers plan to wait until around the All-Star break to see if they could get back into the race before pulling the plug on their season and trading Skubal. U.S. Today's Bob Nightingale reported Sunday. With all that being said, the current odds are favorable for Detroit to trade the 29-year-old as he will be a free agent after this season. MLB.com included the Yankees on its list of 7 clubs that are possible destinations for Skubal. The Yankees check in as team number 4, but they're the only AL contender behind the Braves, Dodgers, and Brewers. So they're the only AL contender that they have. The other 3 are NL teams.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we have a quote. The Yankees here lead the AL in pitching F-WAR and just returned Garrett Cole to an excellent group, so they don't have a glaring need on paper. But again, this is Skubal. This is Skubal! The best lefty in the game, MLB.com Travis Sawchik wrote. Quote, the Yankees are tied for the second longest title drought in franchise history. They are also one of the few clubs that figure to be able to meet Skubal's contract demands. The Yankees ranked 3rd in run differential in the majors, too, Sawchik added. And, quote, if we knew Aaron Judge was going to be 100% in October, one could push the Yankees up on this list. But even with this injury, the New York is still second in FanGraph World Series winning chances at 14.7%, Sawchik concluded. If the Yankees were to sign Skubal, then the Yanks would definitely have a rotation, maybe even better than the 1998 Murders Row. As they're already saying, this rotation is about as good as that one. Imagine if they had him.
Right.
Then there would be 5 aces with Cole, Cam Schlittler, and Carlos Rodon until Max Fried returns from the injured list. Then you throw in Ryan Weathers, Will Warren, and maybe Clark, John, Jacob, Jingleheimer, Schmidt. And the Yankees' rotation could be more overpowered than the LA Dodgers. But first, the Bronx Bombers must address their offensive catcher problem, as well as an underwhelming left side of the infield and the lack of reliable bullpen arms. While Skubal and the Bronx could spoil the Dodgers' 3-peat chances, they really don't need any more starting pitching and would need to probably upgrade the bullpen to win their first World Series title since 2009. So, Joe, how worried should the other MLB teams be if the Yankees were to pull off probably a league-shattering decision if they trade for Tarik Skubal?
Well, I mean, this rotation, if the Yankees get Skubal, which the Tigers are going to get rid of him, and it's funny how the rich get richer, don't they? Every team on the list that when I read it a couple of days ago was like the best teams in baseball here. So they're only going to get better. But this team would not only be better than like the 98 team. I mean, this pitching staff would be better than like the 1970 Orioles or, some of the Braves rotate. It would be better than some of those 90s Braves rotations that they had. So it would be absolutely crazy if the Yankees ended up getting him. Now, upon saying that, would I be surprised if they did? No. But that team that I just mentioned, the Atlanta Braves, that's where I think he's got a better chance of going. If he goes to the Dodgers, then I don't watch baseball the rest of the year, but because we already know who's going to win. Which I'm halfway there anyway, knowing, already knowing who's going to win. But if the Dodgers get him, just throw it all up and forget about it. But I could see him going to a team like the Braves or somebody like that. That would be my pick if I was a betting man, which I am. But I don't think I'm placing any bets on this. But again, he could easily end up with a team like the Yankees. And if he does, again, that rotation would be better than the 98 rotation, better than the 90s Braves, right up there with those Orioles teams in the late 60s, early 70s. Let's just say one of the best rotations ever. And I don't think it's too bold to say that. So stay tuned. Again, I was saying, wait and see what the Mets are going to do. Let's wait and see what teams do here before this trade deadline or right at that trade deadline coming up in about 5 weeks. So going to be very interesting to see.
How likely do you think a move like this would end the Dodgers' chances at a three-peat before a potential or an inevitable 2027 lockout?
I don't think it would end their chances, but I certainly think maybe it would lower the percentages a little bit. I think, again, it would, whoever gets him obviously is going to have a better chance to beat the Dodgers. I still say the Dodgers win the World Series this year, but that would just maybe lower the chances a little bit and lower the percentages.
Anyway, Joe, should Aaron Boone start to tell Jazz Chisholm Jr. not to use the ABS challenge system? Because I think he already did. And like I said, he benched him one game. But what about last night? If you didn't see this, he was eating a lollipop while he was playing second base.
While he's playing second base?
Yeah, he had a lollipop in his mouth while he was.
I did not see that. I mean, is he playing these guys for a sucker or what? I mean, I don't know.
The good instead of the good ship lollipop, the good chiz lollipop. Or the good jazz lollipop.
Pushing his luck a little bit with that. But I guess, hey, if they're allowed to still chew tobacco, I guess they should be allowed to have a lollipop in the field too. What can we say?
And guess what? Aaron Boone actually called him out in front of the media for it last night. And that's something Aaron Boone never usually does, but he had to because that was a little too far.
Yeah, I think, that's why I say Jazz is pushing his luck a little bit, because if he's having issues with ABS and making some wrong calls and is already in the doghouse, as far as on the naughty list for not being able to use the system anymore, then perhaps that's just one of those things that is getting under the skin of the manager and maybe lost some patience there a little bit and said something that he wouldn't typically say. But, just Jazz being Jazz, I guess. And, maybe just needs to grow up a little bit and, again, not play his manager for a sucker.
Anyway, Jazz Chisholm Jr. definitely has talent, but talent only goes as far as how you use your head when challenging balls and strikes and not doing stupid decisions like eating a lollipop while you're playing second base. But what does Forrest Gump always say? Stupid is as stupid does. Right?
Right. Now, do you have a percentage there, Jamie, of his, like, how many calls Jazz
I do.
wrong?
I do.
Okay.
I'll get to that.
Okay.
You had my mind, Joe, but thank you. Chisholm Jr. has been horrendous all season when using ABS, and last Saturday's game is an example, 2 Saturdays ago, I should say, a couple Saturdays ago is an example why umps hate arrogant players. The 28-year-old challenged a strike call he clearly thought was a ball. Then he started taking off his gear and walking to first base. Umpires, that's one of the biggest pet peeves from umpires. Umpires hate that.
Exactly.
Yep. And then the review detected that the pitch was inside the strike zone. Chisholm is only 4 out of 15 in successful challenges.
Wow.
So not even a third of his challenges are or wait, not. I don't think even a, a third of his challenges have been successful.
You're right. I'm not a math teacher, but I that sounds right.
Yep. Mm-hmm. When asked about his low scores or low success rate after whiffing on a challenge during a Yankees 12-4 win over the Houston Astros on April 24th, he gave a typical Jazz response. We have a quote here. You just got to laugh at that point, Chisholm said via New York Daily News. We're winning. It's a kid's game. You got to laugh at some things. Sometimes you just got to laugh at yourself.
Right.
Yep. Well, Chisholm can laugh at himself all he wants, but Aaron Boone certainly was furious with Jazz and obviously and punished him by benching him the benching him in the next game, the next day after that. And Joe, how long do you think it'll take for Aaron Boone to basically talk to him about that, and also literally being a sucker on the field by eating a sucker on the field? Because enough's enough.
Yeah, I could understand that. I supervise people, and I deal with kids, and there's good students I have that sometimes get under my skin. Right? They do stupid things. They just don't grow up. And it's a case here. You got a very good player, and I think he's just getting under the skin of the manager and not growing up and just doing one stupid thing after another. And eventually, again, people lose patience with that. And, it's just, I think he'll learn, and hopefully he learns from a benching, and, it just inspires him and motivates him even more. It's funny with this ABS system too, and I'll let you get back to what you were talking about, that I'm going to have some time to take a look at this, because I got a chance to see one of the better players with this yesterday. I was watching the game between the Brewers and the Reds, and Tyler Stevenson, the catcher for the Cincinnati Reds, the announcers were saying already had a reputation for being one of the top ABS challengers. In this game alone, he had 4 successful challenges. The Reds as a team had 5 in that game. It was a 10-inning game. The Reds successfully challenged 5 times. Tyler Stevenson, the catcher, 4 of those 5 successful challenges just in that game. And again, he's got the reputation for being one of the top guys in the league. I'm going to have to sit down and spend some minutes here looking at that, and maybe we could share that in a future show here. So you got guys that haven't learned it yet, a la Jazz, and you got guys that have already mastered it, it seems like. So it'd be interesting to see how that plays out going forward.
Mm-hmm. Now let's turn back over to you, Joe, for some more Mets highlights. Although, Joe, you said there really aren't any highlights, but go ahead.
Yeah, not too many highlights. There actually are some that I can talk about. Now, the Mets were only able to play 5 games this week because of a rain out. They went 2-3. They were outscored 31-23. So giving up 6 runs a game, which certainly isn't going to help you. And that part of that includes a 15-run shelling on Saturday against the Phillies. How about 2 nationally televised games and the Mets giving up 21 runs in those 2 games, one on Fox and one on NBC Sunday Night Baseball? So it's really the starting pitching here, and I'll give some details on that in a second. Hitting, there are some highlights and there are some reasons for optimism, which there hasn't been for most of the season. Now, maybe lacking in leadership skills, but Juan Soto continues to pound the ball and hit like Juan Soto. How about a 1462 OPS this week? That's one of the highest OPSs we've had that I've discussed on the show all season. It might be the highest. So 1462 OPS for Juan Soto, 2 home runs and 4 RBIs. Now, good to see some of the younger guys get going here. Carson Benj, we've talked about him, got off to that rough start the first month of the season, but he continues to make solid contact, hitting the ball hard. This week, a 1213 OPS with 2 home runs and 3 RBIs. It just continues to improve. Now, Mark Vientos has kind of been going back and forth, and people thinking, how much longer is he going to be a Met if he happens to be trade bait, him and Brett Beatty. But Mark Vientos had a period about a month ago where he was really hitting the ball hard, kind of regressed a little bit. Well, he went back to the hard hitting ways, 1031 OPS with a home run and 3 RBIs as well. These players also, as you look at some of the hard hit percentages, the barrels percentages, and things like that, no coincidence that it goes to those 3 players that I mentioned. Now, add A.J. Ewing to the mix there, who also had an OPS over 1,000. He had a 1045. No home runs, but 4 RBIs. And again, one of the higher players on that hard hit rate there. Marcus Semien doing pretty good too, had 4 RBIs. Now, some hard luck players on the team here. Jared Young, who came back from injury recently, got off to a great start before he got hurt and continues to hit the ball well. Now, he only had 6 at-bats this week and only had 1 hit in those 6 at-bats, but he had one of the highest hard hit percentages on the team. Now, his slugging percentage this week was 111 in the last 7 games. But according to the stats and the expected statistics, based on the way he was hitting the ball, they're saying it should have been 353. So about almost 240 points higher slugging percentage expected over what he actually got. So if this regresses to the mean, you're going to see some positive stats for Jared Young pretty soon, possibly looking to get some or getting him some more playing time. Now, I was talking about Bo Bichette, and again, how he may be a little bit disenchanted by being here, but he's trying. And I said last week that I was a little bit concerned that he was going to kind of regress to the mean, because he was one of those hard luck players not too long ago where he was hitting the ball hard, but maybe not getting the results, and then started getting the results, maybe getting a little luckier than he was before. But now he went back to the hard hitting again. Now, he only had 1 RBI, and his slugging percentage was 286, which is a little bit below average. But again, the StatCast expected stats are saying that based on the way he was hitting the ball, he should have been hitting like 364. So almost 100 points higher than what he actually got there. And again, I give him a lot of credit because you got Lindor coming back. I mean, he's a natural shortstop. Talking about Bichette, and I'm sure he feels much more comfortable playing shortstop, but I haven't heard him grumble once that he's going back to third, and Lindor coming back. And again, I doubt he'll be here next year, but at least he's not going down without a fight, and he's doing his best here, and you got to appreciate that. Now we'll talk some pitching stats here. The old and I kind of say that a little bit jokingly, the old rookie, Nolan McLean, has returned, at least for now, because he got off to that great start, Rookie of the Year candidate, and then had a couple of really rough starts. But last couple of starts, he's done well, especially this past start this week. 7 innings pitched. And again, I love when players go a decent amount into the game. So 7 innings, 3 hits in that game, only 1 unearned run. It was a home run that he gave up, but the run was unearned. He did also have 9 strikeouts in that game too. Sean Manaea has been pitched his way into the starting rotation, been pitching much more solid than he did the first couple of months of the season. Had an okay start, 5 strikeouts in 5 1/3 innings, gave up 6 hits and a couple of earned runs, but a solid start. Can't complain about it. The rest of the way, though, all downhill from there. David Peterson getting smacked around all season. This week, no exception. 4 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, 6 hits, a whip of 2, a 333 batting average against. How about, as I mentioned, Freddie Peralta waving that white flag that I talked about. 2 2/3 innings this week, 10 hits, 10 earned runs. How about this? A 413 whip. So giving up basically 4 hits and walks every inning. I mean, if it was to extend, it was only 2 2/3 innings, and they yanked him here. A 556 batting average against in that game too. So I don't know. It's not just that. I mean, everybody has bad starts, but just the attitude seems like he's ready to be shipped out of town, and it's only a matter of time, I think, that he is. And I wouldn't mind seeing that. Again, get some good prospects for him And if somebody doesn't want to be here, we don't want them here. The Mets relief pitching has been solid. Again, some hits and misses, but the key guys in there: Brazoban, Brooks Raley, Devin Williams, solid back end of the bullpen there, pitching well. So can't complain about those. So here's the deal: 34-42 record for the Mets at this point. Again, we're going to be at the halfway mark of the season, basically this time next week. So they're going to have to make some big moves. And like I said earlier, decisions are going to have to be made. Now, they're also going to have to learn how to win on the road. They're 18-18 at home, which isn't the best. Really, no team is dominating at home this year. There's a couple, but pretty much home field advantage is about as negligent as I've seen it in a long time. So the fact that the Mets are 18-18 at home, especially with their record, being that far under 500, I guess not the end of the world, but 16-25 playing on the road. And they just got clobbered a couple of games in Philadelphia. They've had a lot of their worst games on the road. So if they're going to turn things around, that's something that they're going to have to learn to do very quickly, is start winning those road games and play much better there. So at this point, 6 games out of the wild card. That's more than the last time we talked. A couple of weeks ago, it was 5. Last week, it was 5.5. Now 6. So they're trending in the wrong direction here. And there's a lot of teams in the National League that are ahead of them and that they need to contend with and that are playing quite well. You got the Cubs, Pirates, teams like that in there. The Padres haven't been playing their best, but they can get hot anytime. You got teams like Washington that nobody expected that are right in the mix there. Even the Cardinals. So these teams are not going away too quickly. So it's now or never here. I know we've still got half the season to go, but they're going to have to start making some moves. So as far as games this week, playing some of those teams, this 4-game series against the Cubs, they were rained out last night. So they play, didn't see if there's a doubleheader coming up, but until Thursday, they're playing the Cubs. Then the Phillies come to town, a team that just thrashed them in Philadelphia. So hopefully the Mets can get a couple of games back from them. Talk about a team in front of them that they're going to be contending with. There's one of them, the Phillies, who are playing some very good baseball right now as well. So those games are all at Citi Field. Then they start a 3-game series north of the border in Toronto the first half of next week. So again, they're going to have to make some moves, make some decisions. It's going to be a few weeks before the ultimate decisions are made. But stay tuned and see what happens from there. So that's why I'm saying not much reason to party here, because they're trending in the wrong direction. The lack of heart still exists. The management lack of action is just sickening. And, I'm not too optimistic, and I don't think too many Mets fans are. Even the information I'm giving here, I'm trying to find the good, and there is some. And, again, especially some of the younger players starting to play well and playing with heart. But there's not much else good stuff to talk about here. And I guess we'll see. That's got to change really fast. So we shall see. But Jamie, I'll throw it back to you for some more news over on your side.
Well, yeah, but Joe, guess what? This is actually news that could affect the whole MLB before we get back to the Yankees. And speaking of young players, this could be interesting. What to process about the MLB's potential new draft proposal to the MLBPA that could happen in 2028 after the supposed lockout. So anyway, there's only 166 days until the MLB current CBA expires, and also the possible start of a lockout reminiscent of 1994. That means whole season.
Mm-hmm.
The MLB and the MLBPA met Thursday for a bargaining session, and the league proposed a altering change to the game's entry draft system. This is all you really want to know, which is enough. So to start, the league wants to incorporate a similar rule of what the NBA did, and that's ban American high school players and prep players or JUCO players from the domestic draft, and need to be at least 2 years removed from their high school graduation or 2 years after college, their sophomore year, instead of finishing their junior year. So for every player born outside of the US, Canada, and Puerto Rico, the league would hold an international draft, which is something I don't think they've never done that, a separate domestic from an international draft. That would be new. So anyway, the domestic draft, which is currently 20 rounds, and the international draft would both be 12 rounds, similar to the NFL. That's I think people can get behind,
Yes.
kind of like the NFL, less rounds, which means more opportunities for undrafted free agents, which is a good thing.
Yep.
And then here's what's funny though. The minimum age for international entry would move from 16 to 18, while the domestic would be moved to 20 on September 1st.
Okay.
And I think, Joe, what they're trying to do is, what they're realizing is, like I said, yeah, you have all these great high schoolers that have come out. But I think what they're seeing though is I think a lot of the high schoolers now, they're not really coming out, and I mean, with the exception of Bobby Witt Jr., they're not really developing as quick anymore. Because if you look at like a lot of the young 16 and 18 international superstars, they're developing quicker because they get to play against older competition, in their home country, and they're facing, MLB velocity. Whereas sometimes a lot of the 18-year-old high school kids, they're not facing pitchers that are throwing, 98 or 100 with their fastballs. They're probably facing guys that are only throwing like 88 at the max, and you don't get the type of, they don't get the type of development or the experience in college of, being in a strict regimen weight room that would prepare them better for the minor leagues. Whereas in college, they're getting used to, playing against, older competition and facing, 99-mile-an-hour fastballs as 18-year-old freshmen. And like I said, they're in a strict weight room program that actually, develops them better. And so that's why they want to do this. Because remember, the NBA started doing this after they realized that a lot of these high school kids weren't like LeBron James and they weren't dominating right away. And so they prioritize, guys at least working on their game after high school before they get to the pros. And I think the MLB is trying to do the same thing, because I think that's where you may see batting averages go up if this gets proposed. So you never know.
I agree. I hope it does.
And because it means you'd have more seasoned players in the domestic draft, like you already have with the international players. If you notice, these international players, like I said, they're more seasoned coming out.
Yeah.
So anyway, the way it goes is so a college player would be eligible after their sophomore year as opposed to their junior year. So it would be 2 and done with the MLB, whereas the NBA did 1 and done.
1 and done. Yep.
So anyway, but signing bonuses for both would be hard slotted and capped at $200 million, around what international players get now, and slashed in half from the current system for college baseball, which MLB in a statement called an increasingly important pathway, which would receive an influx of high-end talent. So you'd be getting like high-end talent that would normally not be playing college, would have to play college because they can't come right out of high school.
Right.
So, and the MLB called an increasingly important pathway, what we already said, annually, and serve as a mandatory stop in the domestic development pipeline. The MLB believes college baseball, which the league called an increasingly important pathway, would receive a big increase of prominent talent year after year, and seen as a mandatory stop in the domestic development pipeline. And undrafted players from both pools could sign for at least up to a $10,000 signing bonus.
Okay.
But the good news is no minor league teams would be excluded in 2030, when the 120 player development license that MLB grants to make up minor league baseball expires. Current major leaguers reacted swiftly, with the union issuing a statement saying that said proposal would cripple the next generation of players and damage the future of our game. But Joe, but in any of our sports, right? Everybody trusts the players union, right? The NFLPA, the MLBPA. We all go by what they say, right? So I guess it must be a good proposal if they're questioning it, because the player association is usually wrong on every issue especially when it comes to actually protecting players, right?
Right,
Because I think
exactly.
the NBA PA, remember they said banning high school players wouldn't work, but it's worked for the NBA, you know?
Yes, it has. Funny that
Yeah.
you say that reference on the night of the NBA draft here.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, I don't know, baseball purists, they wouldn't obviously like it, but I think you would see a lot more, seasoned um players, I think, if
Yeah,
they
there's
were
a
to
lot of
play in college, same thing with the international draft, but that's the thing.
there's a lot of things baseball purists don't like that have worked out good for the game. DH
Yeah.
and things like that. I mean, I get it because I still have a little bit of that in me too, but
Yeah.
sometimes changes have to be made and it makes the game better.
Yeah, like our buddy Rich, he's not a fan of the limit of how many times you can pick off somebody or it's a
Mhm.
box. He liked the unlimited pickoff attempts. But I think a lot of the fans now think that that's boring and they want to keep the game moving. So I think that's been good for the game because you don't see as many pickoff attempts, and if they do, they enforce the balk rule. So
I would much rather have it the way it is now.
yeah. Mhm. Yep. And 99% of the time, Joe, those pickoffs don't even work no matter how many times you try to do it. That's why they rarely work.
Exactly.
That's what the MLB figured out with that.
Hmm.
So anyway, so Joe, what do you think of the MLB prioritizing, I think, the college experience for like high school kids to be able to develop in spite of what the MLBPA says it's wrong? Because they argue, and I think some people argue, the only thing about high schoolers turning pro right away is they get to start in the minors, but the one problem about going to college as a freshman or a sophomore is they wouldn't be able to get to play. But at least, being in college would get them used to facing MLB, pitching speeds before they get to the minors. Whereas a high schooler totally has to learn that new, even if they start right away. So what do you think of this?
Well, yeah, I like the rule. To be honest with you, I like the NBA one and done. I like how they can't come right out of high school. Now, how does it work with the minor leagues with this? Can they go to the minors right out of high school, but they just can't go into MLB, or does everybody have to go into college?
I don't think no, they can't even enter the draft, so they can't go to the minors. They would
Okay,
have to go. They'd have to play at least 2 years of college before getting drafted and entering the minors. But baseball purists also argue that you're not going to see a youth movement of talent anymore. As like I said, they wouldn't be able to make the MLB until they're 22. So they feel like it would take the 18 and 19-year-old aspect out of it. Like you won't see any more George Lombard Juniors or Connor Griffin types. You know what I mean? Or any more Derek Jeters or Bobby Witt Juniors coming out of high school.
right, exactly. Again, I think overall it would be better for the game. And one thing it's really going to do is increase attention on the college game. I mean, that's been growing in popularity for years now anyway, but I
Yeah.
think you're going to see some more focus there, and that might help, promote or make more popular college baseball.
Yeah, and like I said, Joe, they're realizing now that I think these high school kids need a little more seasoning, and like not all of them can be a Bobby Witt or a Derek Jeter like they
Mhm.
did back in the day, because of the way they throw the ball harder now.
Right,
And a lot of high school kids got to get used to the difference in velocity, whereas like Jeter and those guys didn't have that big of a velocity gap when they came out of high school. That's the only difference.
right, exactly.
but going to college would get them, used to facing MLB velocity. That's why.
Yep.
So, um, anyway, why do you think the league is trying to take a page out of the NBA playbook and ban high schoolers from entering the draft early?
Well, they probably see that it works. It's worked quite well in the NBA, and I think they want to take a page out of that book as well. And I think there's other underlying reasons, which I don't know, but I think they have other reasons too that again I'm not aware of. But you could see that in the NBA it's worked well, and I think that they see that and they feel like the same thing can happen in Major League Baseball.
Mm-hmm. Because think about it, you don't see like I know the NFL is a completely different sport, football, but I mean think about it, you couldn't have high schoolers go to the pros right away. They have to play college and get used to, playing against bigger physicality as an 18-year-old freshman and actually learning how to handle a stricter weight room, which you don't really do in high school, but in college you do that. That's the difference.
Yeah, and you know what I'm thinking right now too this might do is, what about pitchers and pitchers' arms? Maybe this could have an effect on them, and with the way that they're not having to develop as quickly and rush to the major leagues.
Yeah.
Again, part of me doesn't like the way pitchers are babied all the way up before major leagues.
Like you said, you may start seeing a rise of pitchers going deeper into games again, maybe with this.
You might see that, but I think you might ultimately see less pitcher injuries because they're developing at a slower pace. They're building their arms up. They're building their way up at a much more, I'm trying to think of the word, but not all at once pace, but just like more of a steady pace. And I think that could have a potential positive impact on their arm and not put them in as much danger to get injured right away.
But have you noticed though, majority of pitchers right now, they're going to college. They're not coming out of high school and
right. And I think that's a good thing for them because I think you may see a decrease in pitcher arm injuries because of this.
Yeah, plus, like I said, in high school, they may get away with, only throwing an 88-mile-an-hour fastball, but you're not going to be able to make the transition from high school to pitching in AAA without building up your velocity in college. That's why.
Right, exactly.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, we're going to move on to 3 right-handed catchers the Yankees won't have to mortgage their future in a trade. Yankees, Brian Cashman will have a busy plate on the August 3rd MLB trade deadline. The Yanks are off to a solid start, but they are far from a complete product. And like I said, even the Dodgers are far from a complete product. We've seen that the last 2 times they've won the World Series. They haven't always been a perfect product in the regular season. They just know how to win when it matters. But anyway, especially at the catcher's position. JC Escada has been wildly inconsistent on offense. Well, to be fair, so is Austin Wells, who is now back with the Yanks after dealing with cervical headaches. The Yankees need a catcher who can consistently hit, and while names like the Twins' Ryan Jeffers and the Orioles' Adley Houshman, Cashman might not be interested in giving up his top prospects, which we know he's very good. He's starting to get better at that, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So here are 3 affordable right-handed catchers the Yankees could land. Number 1, Hunter Goodman of the Colorado Rockies, an improved Colorado Rockies, even though they're still going to be sellers. I'll get to that.
Yeah.
With the Rockies much improved this season to only 19 games under 500, they will be sellers once again. But next year could end up being this year's Chicago White Sox if they keep going the same trajectory the White Sox did. But the White Sox started a year earlier. So That's the one thing. The Rockies might actually be competitive like the White Sox next year if they keep this up. So, despite not being a free agent until 2030, Goodman could be dealt by the Rockies as his 2025 season was all-star worthy. The Rockies' former 2021 fourth rounder slash 278 with an 843 OPS and a career high 31 home runs and 91 RBIs across 144 games, which was 54 at bats. Also posting a 3.7 WAR as he earned MLB All-Star and Silver Slugger honors for the first time. This season, his batting average has dipped to 251 in 263 at-bats. With a career-high OPS, though, it's up at 558, while smacking 21 home runs and 39 RBIs along the way, while his 7.2% WAR and 47% hard hit rates. The Yankees would need to offer the Rockies a good prospect to form a trade, but Goodman's lack of a resume, as long as Jeffords or Rajmans, make him a more realistic and attainable target. Number 2, we have Jonah Heim of the Sacker Vegas A's. Jonah Heim has been moving around the horn. I missed that show on ESPN this season. So how about him leaving today for New York, New York? The Atlanta Braves traded the former World Series champion to the Athletics in May after the Braves, with whom he started the year, designated him for assignment. But with the A's around 500, Heim is someone the Yankees should monitor. Despite moving around the world, Heim is raking in Sacramento, batting .253 with a 797 OPS. He additionally has 5 homers, 14 RBIs, and 9 walks in 32 contests, 99 at-bats. 99 at-bats, which puts him on pace for 25 home runs, 71 RBIs, and 56 walks in 162 games. The A's would likely prefer to get something in return, even a bottom-feeding prospect, which would allow Cashman to hold on to his top prospects. Number 3, how about an oldie but goodie or an oldie but higgy? Kyle Higashioka with the Rangers. Here's an oldie but goodie but higgy. Hit it! What goes around, goes around, goes around, comes all the way back around. As the Yankees look to bring back Kyle Higashioka, or Higgy, can't you see? I wish you would. I hope you reunite with the Yankees. Who is a former 2008 7th-round pick. The ex-Yankee played 314 games from 2017 to 2023 in the Bronx, batting .210 with a 647 OPS and 40 home runs and 121 RBIs. The Rangers could be sellers in 2026, and Higashioka would actually be an upgrade over Walls and Hiskara. Anyway, all 3 options would be. But this would be a familiar upgrade to them, as he's batting .235 with 5 home runs and 14 RBIs, whereas Wells and Hiskara have combined for only 4 dingers and 14 RBIs this season. So, Joe, how can Hunter Goodman provide immediate hitting relief as a right-handed catcher should the Yankees acquire him?
Well, no guarantees, but, you got to step him into the lineup and see what he can do. The other guys are struggling a little bit, so it's just a matter of letting him have an opportunity and seeing what he could do. So, no guarantees on that, but I guess we'll see.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And how par for the course would it be for the Yanks to reunite with a fan favorite like Kyle Higashioka? So I'm going to use football terms here. Brian Cashman kind of pulling a Brandon Beane, reuniting with fan favorites on a team-friendly deal.
Yeah, I think it might be a good idea. He knows how to play in Yankee Stadium and in New York, and he's been there before, so might not be a bad idea to give him another shot.
Mm-hmm. And as Michael Kay says on the Yes Network, let's take a look at Down on the Farm, the Yankees prospects. We're going to start out with the AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre Rail Riders. We notice I don't have any news for you guys for George Lombard Jr. That's because, unfortunately, he was placed on the 7-day minor league IL. But at least that'll give him time to heal. I mean, he's already shown he can play, and he'll get his call up pretty soon. But we wish him a speedy recovery with that. So let's start out with second baseman Oswaldo Cabrera. Where's Waldo? Still in AAA. He went 2 for 5 with a home run, an RBI, and a strikeout, and hitting a career second homer in his as many days. Next, we have right fielder Yanquiel Fernandez. Ooh, Joe, I know he's Spanish, but guess what? He was un perdedor for para la vierne, loser for the week. as he the night before made a really bad blunder with
loud train going by here.
Sorry. With Scranton Wilkes-Barre up 8-7 in the bottom of the ninth against their old AAA team, the Columbus Clippers. The Clippers guy hit a ball which Yandiel Fernandez missed, and instead of trying to go for it, thinking the game was over, he just stopped and never went for the ball, and ended up costing them the game because they ended up hitting a 2-run inside the park home run.
Oh my
and they
goodness.
lost 9-8. The guy just stopped and didn't even try to go for the ball when it was in the outfield.
Wow.
But he made up for it on Saturday, going 2 for 4 with 2 walks, a homer, 2 RBIs, and a strikeout. And guess what? His homer was good for his 16th of the year after making up for giving up a walk-off 2-run inside the park home run after stopping and not going for the ball entirely, or on Friday. Yep. Next, we have the AA Somerset Patriots. We have right fielder Chase Avina. He was 2 for 4 with a home run, an RBI, and a strikeout with his 15th homer of the year. Next, we have starting pitcher Kyle. You could drive my car. He pitched 5 innings, allowing 6 hits, 3 runs, 2 walks with 7 strikeouts and a home run. Carr has been sharp after being flat in April. Musical references there. He was sharp after being flat. Anyway. Next, we have the High A Hudson Valley. Renegades.
Did they play in the sticks?
What?
Did they play in the sticks? I don't know. No, never mind. Go ahead.
We have catcher Eric Genther. He was 3 for 5 with two doubles. So anyway, Joe, what do you think of George Lombard Jr. being put on the 7-day minor league IL injured list?
Hopefully it's just a minor thing and it's short-lived, because it seems like he was making great progress. You've been talking every week about what kind of progress he's making. So hopefully that won't hinder it too much and it's just a short-term thing.
Mm-hmm. But Joe, I know you didn't see this game, but how in the world did Fernandez just stop and not play the ball to prevent giving up the walk-off 2-run inside the park home run? I think he thought the game was over when the ball left, so he just didn't even try to go for it because he pretty much knew it was going to be a walk-off inside the park home run.
Yeah, I mean, just mental errors that sometimes happen with everybody. I played baseball back in the day, and I can tell you things that I did that are inexplicable, to things that I would not typically do, but mental errors, and luckily I can't remember one that cost my team a game like that, but those things happen to everybody, and they're going to happen to the best of them. So it's the great measurement of a player's progress is how he comes back from that. And based on what you said, he came back from it very well and made contributions the next time. So that's what you have to do. Just learn from it, grow from it, and make up for it. And then and sounds like he did that. So, that's a positive sign right there.
Mm-hmm. Well, it looks like we come to the end of our show. So, Joe, where can we follow you in the social media world on Tuesday, June 23rd, 2026, the first Tuesday officially of summer, and the day that the Bills officially welcome their new Highmark Stadium with a ribbon cutting ceremony.
Yeah, pretty exciting day here. And, Joe Dell Sports on Twitter X is where you can find things that I talk about there. And, I like to tell jokes on there. Jokes like this baseball team from New York that's losing 7-2 right now. And I forgot to mention this before we go here, that the Mets were having some pitching struggles. Forgot to talk about Kodai Senga, who's currently got at least a 9 ERA. That might have, I don't know if that's the live ERA or after. 0-5, going to be 0-6 after with a 9+ ERA. So the Mets are losing 7-2 last I checked. So they're going to have some decisions there. He's ghosting all right, but ghosting like, where's the real coach saying? So anyway, things like that. And I'm a happy camper, as I'll have a little bit more time to delve into some of these statistics as school ends in 2 days. And 3 days, actually. But I'll have a little bit more time to spend following my favorite sports and getting some more, statistical information here. So, again, teacher's favorite time of year, and summer vacation starts in 3 days. So I'm pretty pumped about that. But Jamie, can we find you and your excellent information there?
You guys can follow me. Thank you for that, Joe. You guys can follow me, yours truly, at Bills Chat 1, at Bills Mafia Chat, and also Jamie Malloy, the unbiased journalist, at DJ Dog Tags on X, Buffalo Down, and thefortball.com, where I write about all sports. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and ring the bell for all notifications. For more content on Driving to the Top Production, you can find us on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, X, wherever you get your podcast. For Joe Dalio, this is Jamie Malloy, and we'll see you next week on the Subway Conversation Chat right here on Driving to the Top Productions, and only on Driving to the Top Productions. Good night, everybody.
That's right. Have a great week.